Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It is our penultimate Bodymore Bulletin. No, our penultimate talking tactics show covering Villa's admirable draw at Anfield that leaves us with Europa Conference League in our own hands. Um, as always, Gareth, amazing analysis to come. It was an eventful game, mate. Certainly, lot of tension involved, a lot riding on it, and yeah, just summing it up, Villa came out with a very creditable point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I come away sort of feeling a little bit confused, sort of when the whistle went. I thought, sort of like I didn't know quite whether we did enough to sort of win the game, but I think we did do enough for a point. And it was
Mm,
kind of sort of yeah, it's a tad confusing really, but a decent performance. You can't, an over one of our best overall performances in possession and out of possession of the whole season. I think, even though Liverpool dominated for possession, I think it was a good performance.
absolutely, mate. I think it was the proverbial cliched game of two halves. Villa, which we'll get into, played excellently in the first half and then defended resolutely in the second half, while also restricting Liverpool to, a lot of possession, but not many clear-cut chances. And yeah, being in the stands, the atmosphere was phenomenal. The Villa crowd were brilliant, and we quietened down the Liverpool crowd quite considerably. And I'm same as you. It was like when the goal came, 89th minute, I've kind of felt like it was just a little bit too easy, if you know what I mean. Like the amount of possession that they had, I was thinking like it's going to be a 25 yard or something like that was going to do it, and it just seemed like a ball out wide, quick cross in the box, and a little bit of movement, and it was in. And I was just like, was that it? That was the frustrating part.
Yeah, he almost felt a little bit sort of deflated because, like you say, you expected it to be a Trent free kick or something sort of out of this world, but it just wasn't that. And they sort of really struggled to sort of really penetrate and create, like you say, decent chances. And they were reduced to doing that, and they got their rewards out of it in the end. But yeah, come away a little bit disappointing, maybe.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll get into it. We've got our usual player influence and passing networks and XG. We've got your analysis, which is fantastic, which goes into a little bit of that defensive shape that really frustrated Liverpool. So we'll get right into that as well. Before we do move on, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers. So thank you everyone for your support. It's amazing. And hit your notifications as well, so you know when the show's coming on board. And if you do want to become a member and join the channel as an official Villa Park Pod follower for just $1.99 a month, then hit the join button on our channel and follow the instructions from there. So let's get into it, mate. Let's do our passing networks first. Being in the stands, I thought we had quite a fair few passes, to be fair. But looking at this, doesn't look like a huge amount of passing combinations.
No, nothing to see here whatsoever. No, it was obviously you can see at the bottom of the screen. I've actually adjusted it to put 6+ pass combinations, and there wasn't even that. It was really sort of hit and miss as to where we were sort of doing certain things and passing amongst players, and we didn't see that sort of build up from the back a great deal. Martinez did go quite long on quite a few occasions, and yeah, we just struggled to sort of gain any real sort of certain possession of the ball.
What would you put that down to? Was that kind of a purpose, a thing that's done on purpose by Emery, or was that just the way that Liverpool were closing us down?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both, to be fair, Rich. I think, he knows that Liverpool are intensive, probably one of the most intensive pressers from that front three in the league. And maybe he didn't trust us to be able to do that this year, or maybe he just thought that that's what Liverpool would expect us to do. And therefore, we're going to go a bit different. And I think that was the purpose of playing Cash and Digne, who sort of he could play out long to on the fullback positions, a little
Yeah,
bit more of an aerial presence, maybe than Youngie and Moreno.
yeah,
Moreno, sorry.
yeah. Makes sense, absolutely. And then just backing up that with the player influence, obviously, yeah, Martinez featuring very heavily there. Um, anything else we're noticing here?
No, and obviously, as we said before, this is based on sort of the player that is involved in the most passing sequences, and that was for Martinez. Was involved in obviously those goal kicks and so forth. But yeah, I mean Douglas Luiz involved again as he was, sort of fairly involved. But yeah, again, not much to see here really.
I can barely see Leon Bailey's name.
Yeah, it was the sort of the Watkins Bailey type thing again, where they struggled to get involved. And I think, to be honest, I think that's probably it for Leon. I hate to say that, but he just didn't. He can't get into any game. He doesn't seem to be who we're playing. He can't seem to get into a game,
particularly away from home as well. You have to feel a little bit for him, but is it a case of Emery's telling him to just stay out on that right side, or is it a case of could he show a little bit more leadership or whatever it is, or initiative to get himself involved in the play a little bit
Yeah,
more?
I do think that. I do think he needs to try that bit harder. And I think he's one of these sort of players. He talk as much as I like Leon, he seems to talk a good game. When you see him sort of speak and everything, he tends to talk a good game. And I think we all we tend to forget that at Leverkusen, he was the main man. He was that man that they looked to score goals and everything else. And a bit more of a freer role there. And I think he's asked, like you say, to do a lot more defensively in this Villa side. And it just doesn't fit. He wants to be up front, being able to just do his thing and not worry about having to defend and things like that. But unfortunately, that's not the role he's been given in this Villa side.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I certainly think those forward areas we will look to improve considerably over the summer. Looking at the XG, I take it you've taken out the penalty here, or have you
the
kept
penalty
it?
stays on this one.
Okay, cool. So yeah, 1.35 for us, 0.75 for Liverpool. So potentially outperforming them on XG. Is that what we're saying here?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you take the penalty out, as we'll see on the timeline next. You take out 0.79 for the penalty. So if we can move on to that next slide, Rich, the timeline, we'll see that then
Yes.
Yeah, so we're at 0.56. So in open play XG, we didn't sort of
I get you.
exceed it.
I get you.
It is what it is. We take a lot of penalties for a lot of things because they're sort of, they're a bit like that. And yeah, it was a struggle, wasn't it? I mean, we started off reasonably well and looked confident. And even the commentators were saying, oh, Villa look, really confident. And we just sort of edged away a little bit.
Yeah, I think midfield we tired. I think we put so much into that first half, which is understandable. But what's interesting here is that even right into the back end of the second half, Liverpool's XG wasn't very high. And as I say before, being caught up in the atmosphere in the stadium, it was a great atmosphere. But I have to say, it wasn't it wasn't the best of games, and that's obviously credit to us for not allowing it to be open ended and end to end and so many chances.
Yeah, and that's why I say it was a really good overall performance, especially away from home at Anfield, where you wouldn't have expected, even though we're playing well, you wouldn't have expected sort of Liverpool to not batter us almost. You expect Anfield is one of those grounds where a lot of teams go and don't sort of get a result. So you got to give the boys credit.
Yeah. And then the timeline, kind of the threat game flow sort of allows what we said there, Villa bossing the first half in terms of what threat there was, and then Liverpool, having much more of that play in the second half.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we do these analysis, and that's why we do these sort of visual representations, because it gives an overall picture of what sort of the threat in and out of possession and everything else in the game. So, fans were there, we all watched the game, we can sort of relate to, oh yeah, okay, that happened. And it's visualized. So it's a good representation, I think, of how that game went.
Yeah. Well, let's get into your kind of stills and proper full analysis, mate. Again, a great job that you're doing there. As I said before, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us really grow the channel and gives us a real reason to put these shows together and keep going. We've got a lot of plans for next season, so yeah, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when these shows are coming out. So yeah, we talked a lot, about our solidity and our kind of blocking the channels for Liverpool and defensive shape here. What are you noticing the most from this?
Yeah, so typical 4-4-2 from Villa, which we expect. And you highlighted Bailey earlier on, sort of being asked to stay out wide a little bit. And again, you can see here that this is exactly where he is, and we've sort of almost got that back five all right. But it's a midfield four. And McGinn had two roles in this team. in this game. He had to stay there with Trent. So they're looking at trying sort of, if Watkins has to be released to step onto Konate or Van Dijk, then McGinn is there to back him up for Trent, and vice versa. And that's why he put McGinn up front, because he's an intensive presser with Watkins, and they seem to work well together in that press.
Excellent. Yeah, it was noticeable to see in that first half, and it really did do us quite well. And then there you've got here highlighting again McGinn's dual role. So what else was he asked to do as well as that?
Yeah, so again, he's asked to sort of drop him back in on Fabinho, because they want
Yeah.
to keep that midfield four sort of solid with Bailey. They want to keep everyone behind Watkins and McGinn. And yeah, it was an interesting ploy, because when sort of Trent came into that sort of right centre back role almost to drop, because he wasn't getting much luck, so he sort of tended to drop a little bit deeper, and that allowed Watkins then to go up and press. And Liverpool tried to then make Konate the extra man on the wide right, and that's when Villa sort of struggled a little bit. They did get it right, but there was other things maybe that they could have done, but it was really difficult. Trent, I don't think people sort of appreciate it a lot, that Trent moving into midfield is good, but when you add his passing and everything on top of that, it's so difficult to budget and stop.
Yeah. Well, here you are here, how we sort of tried to stop him, because yeah, like you say, he has wonderful talent on the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone on about it a bit. I've done 3 slides on pretty much the same sort of positions with McGinn and Watkins, but it's important in different phases. I mean, I know this is only a couple of minutes later, but this happened quite a bit. He was altering positions every now and then, Trent. He was there, or he was at a right centre-back position, and it always really depended on where he could receive the ball. But yeah, we tried to sort of nullify that and then push up on Fabinho as best as we could. I think, really, McGinn should have been released a bit higher with Watkins on a permanent basis, with Kamara or Luiz backing up Fabinho, but it's really difficult with that Liverpool midfield three.
Yeah, I mean, from again, we couldn't see great view, but for me as well, I thought Ramsey did well in these situations, because he's got a strong running with the ball, and he's got a lot of pace with the ball, and I think obviously that gap there, I know Watkins will go into it in a minute, exploited it a little bit, but as well, I thought he kind of did still leave a little bit of doubt in Trent's mind, like when Ramsey got the ball and he was running. I know Trent picked up a yellow card in the second half, and that I think was a way that we could combat it almost, because they had to think about Ramsey running with the ball as well.
Yeah, I mean, I sat here, and when I was watching the game, and just after you picked up on Trent's yellow card, I said to myself, he's frustrated. And this was the one thing they really did well, Villa, to frustrate him on the ball. He wasn't nowhere near as effective as what we've seen him in the past, you know. And like you say with Ramsey, there was just that little bit of doubt where we pushed up. And this is what I'm saying. This is in the 16th minute, but we just didn't continue to sort of in this vein. This is perfect positioning here, and just push up a little bit. You just got to be brave, but away from home, you don't want to lose a point. You don't want to drop 2.
Exactly. And then yeah, we touched on this, targeting Konate. Now I'll try and move quite quickly through these slides because it follows on it from each other. But yeah, what did you notice particularly on the targeting of Konate?
Yeah, straight away I noticed that Watkins, he didn't fancy himself up against Van Dijk, and he could have done, I think, with ease with pace-wise, but he really fancied himself up against Konate, and we can see, like we'll see it in a little while, the heat maps and everything, that he really did sort of try to target that left channel and exploit the fact that Trent went. Now, he was positioning sort of in between Trent and Konate, but he also went the other side of Konate as well, in between him and Van Dijk, and it was really tricky to try and pick him up, and he tried, is what I would say.
Yeah. And obviously, I think this is the penalty incident, and yeah, good timing of the run. McGinn spots him, and obviously, yeah, look to get into the space behind.
Yeah, again, it's that positioning, isn't it? You know, and again, we're only 20 minutes into the game here, but we're looking at things early on in the game, and right from the kickoff. In fact, I think he targeted that sort of left-hand side there. And like I say, the still before is the pass before this one there. So,
yeah,
fantastic.
Perfect camera work as well, Gareth.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. And then, yeah, you just wanted to highlight the heat map of Watkins, and I think, yeah, we can clearly see where he was targeting his runs.
Yeah, it's just another sort of way of looking at it. Again, like I said before, we visualize these things so we can see what we're believing is true. And yeah, this is exactly what it was. And we can see Watkins spent the majority of his time in that left-hand channel up against Canate.
Awesome. And then finally, we're looking at our high line. You're talking about organisation, frustrating Liverpool, and yeah, none more so than kind of towards the end of the game where we stayed organised for, what would we say, 99% of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said in the podcast after the last game that we wouldn't employ a high line at Liverpool. So, but I mean, this is not as high as what you would.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So I mean, I've kind of done myself a disservice by putting a high line, but look how organised it is. Can't get any better than that, and it was really keen. Liverpool didn't get in behind on that many occasions. And as we can see here again, this is late in the second half, and you've still got you still got Watkins and McGinn putting pressure on Trent and just trying to not sort of give him that time on that ball.
Yeah. No, it was I think it was one for, you as an analyst to say, really, really strong, organised performance. And if you were feeding that back to the club, so to speak, I think you'd be waxing lyrical, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And it was, that's what I started off the pod by saying it, it was, for me, it was a complete overall performance, apart from not winning the game and so forth. But when you look at it from a tactical perspective and in the different phases of the game, sort of the first 15 and so forth, they did things in different periods of the game, and it was really good, really good.
Awesome. I've got to ask you, what did you make of the injury time, the added time, the way that the PGMOL have said that, or the Premier League have said they're going to implement this, adding on all of the stoppages that, as they did from the World Cup in the last 2 games of the season, and then following on from that, Klopp's comments that there should have been an additional 5 minutes to the, I don't know how many, 18 minutes that was already played across both halves.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was. I've read some of this one that he got 20 minutes of added on time in total throughout the whole of the game. So he got some balls on him. I'll give him that. Because it's one of them things where every team does it. I mean, look at Leicester last night; they were doing it from minute 1. And I don't see what the problem is with it. Teams are always going to try and do it, especially this time of the season when points are just so hard to come by.
It's literally about results, isn't it? It's got nothing to do with performances now. It's just about results.
Yeah, they're just exactly this time. Exactly, you're just trying to grind out results as Newcastle, Leicester did. And it's one of them sort of things, isn't it? That if it's your team, you're not bothered, but if it's against you, you're fuming. So, yeah, one of them things.
Yeah, and then going into Sunday now, we give ourselves a shot. It's in our hands. Beat Brighton, and what a turnaround it's been for the season, mate.
Yeah, I mean, at home, all guns blazing, go for it. You've got nothing to lose. Conference League football, it's there for the taking, and fair play to Brighton. You can't knock that. And we're on a par with them. We've got to be. That's the teams we've got to be sort of either really above, really in hindsight. But we've got to be competing with them, and I reckon we've got every chance. Every chance.
Me too, absolutely. Well, look, Gareth, once again, phenomenal analysis. It's been a pleasure doing this with you for the season. We've got one more to go, mate. One more to go. If anyone wants to find you on Twitter, though, give us your Twitter handle.
Yeah, give me at that Garate AJ, so you can find me there.
Awesome. And I know we've got lots of plans for the summer with the various transfer links, looking at players, analysing the season maybe as well. I know you've got your document that you're going to produce as well, so we'll get that. We'll release more information on that coming up. But as always, thank you so much, mate. Thank you for everyone watching. Please make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help us to get to 1,500, and cheer the boys on Sunday to the Europa League. Hello, everyone.